All right, welcome back. Let's continue to talk about the agenda now for the next level. That's the 4 years of Buhari administration. We're talking about the next 4 years now. I'm now being joined on the program by Muda Yusuf, who is the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Yes, the next level has actually, anyway, started before now, as a matter of fact. But we're on to the next level now, so to speak. For you now, what do you think are the critical things that the government needs to get going, you know, to address, to ensure that things change from what we've had over the past 4 years?
Thank you very much. Well, we need to do a lot more to create an enabling environment for investment.
Perhaps you may speak to some of the quick wins, you know, that the government can actually, you know, embark on now to ensure that, if you like, there's immediate or instantaneous effect on the economy and on the people.
Well, the quick wins are, no matter what we say, it's still about investment. Because if you look at all the key problems that we have, whether we are talking about social problems, security problems, unemployment, and so on and so forth, it has to do with the capacity of this economy to create jobs and to reduce poverty, to generate revenue, and all of that. So a whole lot, you know, hinges on the kind of environment we create for investment. Now, so far, I think one must commend the level of engagement that we have seen in the past 4 years between the government and the private sector, particularly at the level of the vice president, the quarterly meeting with the private sector and all of that. I think that is good. But we need to deal with some of the fundamental problems facing this economy. First, we need to deal with the high import dependence, particularly of petroleum products, because the pressure that is putting on our resources is enormous. Only recently, I mean, the Senate was talking about the fact that we have spent about 11 trillion in 6 years or so on subsidy. You know, that is enormous. Imagine what that can do to fix infrastructure and to fix some of the social problems that we have. So I think one of the first things I expect the government to do is to quickly see how we can deal with the issues of our refineries so that we put an end to the importation of petroleum products. Through that, we can make a lot of savings. Through that, we can generate more investment. Through that, we can also generate more revenue, you know, for the economy and reduce the pressure on our foreign exchange market. Secondly, we need to deal with issues around our monetary policy. Yes, we have seen a lot of intervention, very positive intervention in the monetary policy space to support the real sector of the economy in agriculture, in manufacturing, and so on.
Because you talked about monetary policy now, one thing I also want to seek your opinion on, and quite a lot of people are waiting to see how the government would deal with that issue. We've had calls in some quarters for the government to float you know, just float the currency. Do you think, would you advocate a float at this moment? I'm talking about our foreign exchange. Dealing with our foreign exchange now, would you support a float that we should float the naira, for instance, and you know, allow market forces to determine what the exchange is?
Well, talking about the foreign exchange policy of this administration so far, there is need for a review. First, before I address the issue of the floating of the currency, we need to address the issue of multiplicity of exchange rates. That is not good for the transparency of the management of the foreign exchange market.
Well, it would appear the rates are converging as we speak.
No, I don't think so. I think we need to look. I mean, as we speak, the official rate, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, is still 305 naira to the dollar. The market rate is 360. The rates in the electronic transfers are different. The rates at which we hear that even for the importation of petroleum products are different. You know, we need to bring a lot more transparency into this whole process. Although the CBN has said that what we have is not multiple rates but multiple windows. I mean, it's very difficult to draw the line or to distinguish between what is multiple windows and what is multiple rates. As much as possible, there has to be, first, we have to reduce the number of windows that we have. We are talking of multiple windows. If you have a fewer number of windows, I think we have a fewer number of rates. That is very important. And this idea of saying that the official rate is 305, I don't think is something that we should continue to relate with as an economy. Let us know exactly what the rate is. Of course, there will be a band, but the band should be very, very narrow band of fluctuation in the rates. Talking about the issue of flotation, the reality is that the best way to manage an exchange rate is to allow the exchange rate to reflect the fundamentals of the market. If today exchange rate is 360, and suddenly there is a drop in foreign earning or foreign oil revenue, say to about $50 or to $40, there is no way we can continue to sustain the rate at 360 or 305.
Let's talk about revenue now, because you did talk about that when you were speaking. You look at our debt profile, quite worrying. But, you know, some people have argued that, look, when you consider the debt to revenue ratio, I mean, the debt to GDP ratio now, that it's all fine. That where we have a problem is the debt to revenue ratio. And that clearly shows this country has a revenue challenge. There's no doubt about it. Because, I mean, if we hadn't got a revenue challenge, obviously, the debt to revenue ratio should not be anything worrisome at all, especially when you consider the fact that the debt to GDP ratio is quite low. How do you expect the government going forward now to address the revenue crisis, if you like, it seems we have at this moment?
Well, to address the revenue crisis, I think we need to also look at the way we manage our economic system generally. Permit me again to start from the oil and gas sector. The oil and gas sector, as we speak today, is our cash cow. It's the biggest source of revenue. Either we're talking about the foreign exchange earnings or even the Naira revenue. The bulk of it still comes from the oil and gas sector. But we are not optimizing the resources in that space. I just made an allusion to the report of the Senate where they said 11 trillion naira has been spent on subsidy. If you have that kind of scenario, there's no way you will not have a revenue challenge. There's also the allegation by the Senate that the NNPC is now almost charging the what we now call the under recovery directly on the consolidated revenue fund, which, apart from the issues of the constitutionality of it that was raised, which is also not the best way to manage the resources of the state.
The Continental Free Trade Agreement, of course, come into effect, but we've still not signed up to that agreement. Don't you think it's time too that you know, Nigeria signed up to that agreement, that this government makes up its mind now to sign up to it?
Well, I think we should sign up to that agreement. It's unfortunate that we see in this situation where the rest of Africa is moving ahead and we are yet to get on board. If you have any issues with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, these issues are better resolved through engagement when we are part of the discussion. You cannot influence an agreement or a protocol when you are outside of the protocol. If you are part of it, then we can influence what the contents of the protocol is. So I think it is not a good decision for us to remain completely out of all the discussions that are going on concerning the African Continental Free Trade Area. I think there is a bit of phobia to the fact that if you get exposed, our manufacturing sector will suffer and all of that. I think if you can be part of ECOWAS, I think we can be part of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And in any case, there are provisions in that agreement for us to look at what sectors we can protect, what sectors we can expose, and all of that.
How soon do you expect the president to appoint his cabinet, have his cabinet in place now? And I also want to talk about the kind of people you want to see in the cabinet, because in the past cabinet, we of course, there were complaints about some people not being in the right position, if you like, not having round pegs now in round holes, if you like.
Well, we want to see the cabinet as soon as possible. Within the next 4 weeks, I expect that the cabinet should be in place. I mean, this government has been in place for 4 years, so it's not a question of still struggling to find its feet. So I don't expect that the experience we had 4 years ago will repeat itself this time around. So within the next 4 weeks, I expect that the cabinet should be in place. As to the kind of people that we want to see in the cabinet, of course, we would like to see more technocrats. But again, the capacity to deliver of any cabinet member is a function of the environment in which the cabinet member is operating. Even if you are a technocrat and the environment doesn't allow you to function as a technocrat, you will still be back to square one. So the environment we create for those who are professionals to function is very important.
All right, Mr. Muda Yusuf, thank you very much for your time and for your contributions.
Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, that's it on the program. But if you want to watch it again, it's very simple. Just go to our website, tv360nigeria.com. You'll find this program and lots more there. You can also follow us on our various social media handles and continue to contribute to the program. That's it. We'll see you again next week. I am Deji. Bye-bye.